Welcome to Mysteries with a History, where you'll be taken on a wild ride into the unknown, the strange, and the mysterious. Like you, I have questions, and like you, I want answers. And with each episode together, we will peel away the layers to look for the truth. Today is a special episode with a special guest. Jimmy is currently in Peru, so with me today is investigative journalist Jaime Maussan. And today we will do a deep dive on the UFO Mexican hearing. Jaime, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here and taking time out of your very busy schedule to speak with us. How are you?
My pleasure, Cristina. Fine, I'm well. It was a difficult time when I presented the second audience. I got sick because of the stress, but I'm okay now. No problem.
Oh, well, hopefully you had enough time to recover after that. But myself and so many others have a lot of questions, and you are the man to speak to. But starting off a little bit with your background, you were a reporter before focusing on UFOs. Can you tell us?
I still am. I have to record after this interview. I'm going to record my newscast, my daily newscast. I have a different journalistic shows. I do specials about journalism.
I'm fully aware of that. But right now, you are mainly known for your UFO reporting and your UFO research. Can you tell us about your journey from general reporting to focusing a lot more on UFOs?
Well, yeah, I was the head and anchor of 60 Minutes in Mexico in 1991 when I witnessed the eclipse, the total eclipse from July 11, 1991. And many people went outside to record the eclipse and then record UFOs. And I was invited to a TV show, Usted Que Opina, with Nino Canun, a show that lasted the first time like 9 hours and the second time like almost 12 hours. They were presented national. The first one was before the eclipse, and the second was after the eclipse. And in the second show, I presented all the videos that were recorded, or at least two of them that were really good. And they were really a sensation because the people sent me more videos from that time, and I realized that this phenomenon was real. I saw the UFOs, and I was convinced that this was real. What was more, the people that wanted me to investigate this than my personal decision. I was the head of 60 Minutes. I didn't want to get involved in UFOs, but it was so much attention that I received invitations to universities to present all of this. And that's the reason that pushed me into this field. But at the beginning, I didn't want to get involved because I knew how difficult it was. And I was just a simple journalist, investigative journalist, and I preferred to continue that way. But the people in Mexico decided a different destiny for me.
And that case, that sighting is a very famous one. You can look it up online and you're going to see a bunch of photos and stories. And it's one that really made an impression on a lot of people in Mexico City. But Jaime, jumping to present day, talking about the Mexican UFO hearing, what caused you to organize it? The first one taking place September 12th and the second one November 7th. What did you want to achieve with these hearings?
Well, I realized that in the United States, there were at least 3 hearings, 3 public audiences. And I was in touch with this Congressman, Sergio Gutierrez Luna, since last year, when the first one was done, I believe in May 17th to 2022. And I talked about it that in Mexico, there was so much activity, and I have so many witness pilots and air controllers that I thought that we should do something, but he was not completely convinced. And then after the second audience, I talked to him again, and I said, why don't we do it? And was after the third audience on July 26th, when he decided to do it. He said, "Hey, okay, let's go ahead. I think it's the public attention as a good politician is there. Let's do one in Mexico." And what's going to be done just to reform in the law the so-called anomalous unidentified phenomenon. Okay, that was all. But then I remember that David Grosh said about the biological remainings, uh, and uh, and I thought, well, we have these remainings, and I remember that in Mexico a year ago I was told that a friend of mine had brought two of the bodies that we found in Peru in 2017 was similar to those that were authentic, and I thought that we could take them to the Congress. I asked the congressman, and he said, "Let me look at them." I took him to look at the bodies, and I asked two of the experts that had done the investigation, Dr. Salce and Dr. Ricardo Rangel, to be there, and they exposed everything they have found. And then he said, "Okay, let's do it." And that's the reason why I did the first audience. The second audience was because of the response, the huge response. I didn't expect that response from all around the world, and especially because many people were saying that the bodies were a hoax, that they were assembled, that they were like toys. Because the Ministry of Culture of Peru had said that they had analyzed the bodies in 2017 and they found that they were somehow assembled. And I realized that what the Ministry of Culture did was to take a different body of different size from a different case to respond to what was happening in Mexico. It means that they lie, and they knew they lied. Then I had to present a second audience just with pure scientists from the University of Ica, and three legal experts, three experts, doctors that work with the law in specific cases in the law to analyze the bodies, and the three of them said that the body was real. Then I had 11 scientists that were there, and one after the other said that this body is real because it's real. I'm going to take legal action against the Ministry of Culture, and remember me, it's going to happen. And there is no way they will be able to defend themselves because they lied to the world. And this has to change because this is the biggest finding ever in the history of humankind. And I knew that since 2017, but I didn't have the attention of the world. Now I have it. Now we're not gonna miss this chance to present the most incredible case. That's how everything happened, Cristina.
That's crazy because we don't get to hear that aspect of it. People refer to that Peruvian institute as, well, they're saying it's fake while you're saying it's real. But if that is the case, that they hoaxed it themselves, what evidence do you have that says that to be true?
Well, I had the 11 scientists. All of them analyzed the body. We have the tomographies, x-rays, everything, all the details. We have the DNA. We have so much more. And besides that, I was there. I knew where the bodies were found. I know all the details. I know all the witnesses that were there. And of course, I'm convinced. But I think it's enough when you present 11 scientists and one after the other say that it's true, and they present their own analysis. I'm not a scientist, but I am sure that what they presented can be
Credible.
by other scientists to find if this is true or not. But more than that, the University of Ica is opening the door to any institution in the world who wants to come and investigate. If they don't do it, they don't have the right to say that this is a hoax. Because Have you seen, Cristina, any proof, any one, that demonstrates that the bodies are a fake?
Only hearsay. That's really what it is for the
Then,
most part.
then the problem, I'm right, because they have not presented anything. Anything. The only thing that has been presented is by the Minister of Culture is this video of the analysis of the other body. And if you check it, you put one here, you will say this is not the same than this. How can they do it? I mean, is the Minister of Culture of one country against the history of his own country? That's what the Minister of Culture is doing, you know? And I haven't seen yet any proof whatsoever to demonstrate me that this is a hoax. Let me tell you, I am a journalist for 50 years. I won the National Award of Journalism in Mexico 3 times. I was awarded at the Capitol Hill in Washington. I was awarded by the United Nations. I was awarded by journalists all around the world, all around Mexico. Do you think I want to take a hoax, something that is created, to present it in the Congress of Mexico? My friend, I mean, I will have to be crazy. And I am not crazy. Offends me when people say, oh, it's a hoax. Do you think I'm so stupid to do that? Do you think the congressman is going to accept that some toys are presented there, some things that are not real? He puts in danger his career as congressman too. But nobody has demonstrated anything so far regarding that this case is a hoax.
That was one thing that really caught my attention about both of these hearings. First of all, it took place in a government office. It wasn't a conference in a high school gym. That adds a little bit of credibility. But on the second aspect is you had a lot of very credible guests with very hefty, credible backgrounds as well. And a little bit earlier, you mentioned the university in Ica, the San Luis Gonzaga University. And one of my favorite aspects about the second hearing was listening to Dr. Jorge Eduardo Moreno Legua, and he's one of the principals for the university. And he mentioned on air, the doors are open, anyone can do research on these. But what happened to him after he spoke at the hearing, Jaime?
He was fired. 11:35 p.m. The same night, he was fired. Okay, now think about that. Think about that. Think about repression. Think about all the obstacles that these scientists have to overcome to be able to present this. I mean, it's incredible what is happening. There is a mafia in Peru. The archaeologists and anthropologists of Peru are a mafia, and I tell them directly, they're a mafia. The second day in 2017, when Gaia.com presented the first documentary on the case,
right,
the second day they said, oh, this is a hoax. They haven't put their hands on this, or this is a hoax, because Maussan cut the fingers and put them there, you know what I mean? He painted with some things, white painting to cover all all the hoax he created. Come on, second day. Don't the world realize what is happening here? I mean, we have to change history. We have to change everything. This changes everything. And I'm going to tell you something else, Cristina. This is just the beginning. There are more species. There are more bodies. There are more places. How can they stop that? They won't. I'm going to Peru this Saturday. I'm going to be in the most popular show in Peru. I'm going to tell the Peruvian people. The scientists are going to be there. Are going to want to prove that the Ministry of Culture is really lying about this case. Now the government of Peru, fortunately, there were 2 congressmen in the audience this time from Peru. They were impressed. They couldn't believe what was happening. And what they said is they were going to go back. They're going to change the law because they need to protect these bodies. Something that I asked from 2017, and we have lost a lot of creatures, bodies in the last 6 years. Unfortunately, still there is enough to do a museum. That is what I want to do. I want this to continue the investigation. I want the Peru government the saying this is real. I want to create this museum for the Nazca people. This is not about money. This is not about fame. This is about humanity. This is about our history. It's something people don't understand. And I'm very, very surprised that it was so easy to say this is a hoax. They say it's a hoax, and the other repeats a hoax. Oh, it's been demonstrated. Demonstrated? Who demonstrated that? Nobody did. That's what really bothers me, that we have not had the popular support around the world around this, but it doesn't matter. We're going to prove because we have more evidence coming, and the world is going to be very shocked when they found out about everything here.
Well, I'm looking forward to what you have in stock. But another question I have is the University of Lakeland Paleo DNA lab report in 2018. They mentioned that there was DNA contamination on the body of Maria with DNA from different people, both men and women. How does this how does this report impact the truth about what they say about these mummies?
Some percentage was contaminated, but the other percentage was not contaminated. If they take a reading, they can really find out. I mean, for example, we know that Maria has 4 different, how can I say, genetic brands or beginnings or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I'm not a scientist again. The bonobos, chimpanzees, human, and unknown. And that's in the DNA. I know it's contaminated, but none of those is part of the contamination, okay?
How do we know that, Jaime?
Well, because the scientists know. Ricardo Rangel presented all the investigation. What else can we do? I don't know how to read the DNA. I don't know how to do it. But people can go. There is a site in the internet when scientists can go and take the DNA. It's open to anyone. It's open. Oh, I think we should do more analysis. We should take more DNA, but it costs a lot of money, my friend, and it takes some time to do it.
Can you give us an estimate, Jaime, of how much it costs and how much time it takes to collect DNA from these bodies?
It costed $50,000. There were 4 samples that were analyzed and costed us by Sem4Gene, a Canadian laboratory, did it, and that's what we had to pay for it. Okay, and it took a year to do it. Thierry Yamin told me that he has a place in Canada where they can do it like $5,000 to $10,000 per sample, and it takes something like 3-4 months. I don't know. Probably we have to. I thought was enough with what we have. We have one good analysis. It's not that easy. This is very old DNA. It's not modern DNA. And there are not many laboratories to do that. But I think now we are going to find a way to continue the investigation. We need to take from the beginning. To take the samples of the DNA is very, how can I say, delicate. It's difficult. It's not an easy thing to do. It has to be done by an expert in certain conditions. And I'm just a journalist again. This should be done by the government of Peru. This should be done by the authorities of Peru, not by me. I have done it because I think it's very important. That's the reason. But they attack me like I am the responsible one and the one that should do all of that. I'm sorry, but I'm not. I have put a lot of my money into this just to get the truth, because I'm not making any money out of this,
But let me ask you this. Where can people find the DNA results? A lot of scientists said during the hearing the information is public, you can collect the paperwork, but where can people find that paperwork?
Well, I have to look for it. Tell your people that you will tell them after the interview, or put it at the end of the interview, or put it somewhere in the interview. I'll give it to you. I don't have it right now, but I'll find it. I'll find it for you, and I'll give it to you.
Fantastic. And for those that want to read it, it will be in the description box below. But getting into the next aspect of the hearing, how did you decide which scientists, researchers, and guests should speak at both of the Mexican hearings?
Can you repeat the question again?
Absolutely. How did you decide which scientists, researchers, and guests should speak
Well,
at the Mexican hearing?
the people that was involved from the beginning, from Peru is the people from the Ica University. We gave them the bodies in August 2019. There is no one more qualified than them to speak about this. We found the legal experts. That was a suggestion that I received from the Ica University and from the journalist Joyce Mantilla. They were not involved for a long time, but they had a chance to look at the bodies, and they have. Let me tell you something. All the scientists, every scientist that have analyzed the bodies say it's true. All the scientists who have never seen the bodies say it's a hoax. That's the difference. But every single one, if I bring someone to look at the bodies, they say after the analysis they do, it's real. It happens every time. All I did was to invite all of those who had taken a look at the bodies and had their own findings and analysis.
So, were there any findings or pieces of evidence presented at the hearings that contradicted each other? And if so, how are these contradictions addressed?
No, there was no contradictions. We had a meeting the day before with all of the participants, and I asked exactly that question. Is there anyone who has not agreed, because everyone presented their own analysis there in private? And I asked, is there anyone who don't think what the other said is real or not? And everybody agreed. Everybody were very satisfied with what was going to be presented. Everybody knew all the results before we went to the Congress, and they say it's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
So, my next question here is the scientists, specifically during the second hearing, they were analyzing different bodies. It wasn't just one. We saw the small ones from the first one. We saw Maria as well. I believe we also saw the Familia. In these instances, are they the same species? Are they different species? Because that's an aspect that I was a little bit confused during the second hearing.
No, I presented a third one, a third species, smaller, didn't have lungs, didn't have how you say ribs, didn't have anything like that, and that was the third species. But as I told you, there are more species. There are more.
When will we see those?
Soon. They are still buried, and I want them to be kept that way. It's a secret place. When the conditions are ready, when there is a big institution coming close to me and saying we will take care of this, I take them. I will ask. We are asking now the Peruvian government to allow this investigation to continue. Okay, because any good institution will ask you for an official permission to do the findings, to extract the bodies from their place, and we are looking for that right now. I think we are going to get it, and I'm just waiting. But you know something, nobody has answered yet, and I don't think anybody's going to answer it. That's the problem. How can you do it when there is no support for something like this? Then what I have to do is now go to the Peruvian government and ask them to open this and to ask, they have to ask the institutions to come and do it. And I think that's the way to proceed.
One question that's on a lot of people's minds and that you've been asked before is how did you get in possession of these mummies and why you versus an institute or anybody else? Why were you the one that presented them to the people?
Uh, I didn't get the bodies. We found the bodies in Peru. Those bodies stay there at the university, but there were more bodies. These people who found the bodies asked me, "Do you want two bodies? We can take it to Mexico to you." And I said, "No, that's from 2017, 2018." And I said, "No, thank you." But somebody else did. Somebody I know, a friend of mine. And I learned that when he had the bodies. Jose Salce, the doctor who participated in the first audience, he said, our friend has two bodies. And I say, "No way." And he said, "Yes." And he said, "Are they real?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Oh, okay." And that was all. And when I had the first audience, I remember that. And since the Pentagon was not allowing the congressmen of United States to look at the bodies that they have, I said, "Well, I'm going to present some, and they're going to be there, and they are for real." And that's what I did.
Hold on. You said something really interesting that I want to get a little deeper into. You mentioned that the Pentagon did not give access to allow you to show the bodies
No, no, no,
to.
no, no, no. The Pentagon, David Grush gave a testimony saying that there are bodies there and they are craft there. And when the congressman wanted to go to the place, they didn't receive the authorization from the Pentagon. They, not us, not here. They. And then I thought that if I did it in Mexico, if I brought these bodies, I would be presenting to the world real bodies from extraterrestrials. We went ahead to the US, and we also went ahead to the US by now declaring to prohibit any classification of any material regarding this phenomenon. And I think Mexico is going to become the first country in the world to do that. Besides, we are going to regulate now to accept the existence of the anomalous objects. The anomalous objects are those who doesn't look human. When you talk about the anomalous phenomenon, are the transmedia objects, those who can come from the stratosphere to the atmosphere to the sea. Okay, when you talk about aerial phenomenon, is when you're talking about a balloon, a drone, an airplane, or something in the air. That's the difference. And Mexico is now accepting the existence of the anomalous phenomenon. It means we are accepting that the aliens could be here. Period.
In the hearing, we saw three different types. One of them, Maria believing to be a hybrid. We had one that was another species, and then ones that were non-human. So can you go into a little bit more detail for maybe those that didn't watch the hearing or didn't watch all of it? When we're looking at these, are they all completely different? Were they in different locations, or were they found in the same area? And do they have certain similar characteristics?
No, they're completely different. All of them have something similar. They are tridactyls, all of them. Okay, but one looks something close to a reptile, the other looks close to human, and the other looks close to salamandras. Okay, the first that I presented, they look reptilians. They have eggs inside, and they have two eyes, one mouth, etc. They have a retractile neck. They have many differences here. With the bones look more like the bird bones than any other thing. Maria has very strong bones, very similar to the apes, especially to the gorillas, and she has a huge head, 1.3 bigger than humans. It's amazing. It means it was so much smarter than us. And she also has, well, it's 3 fingers. And there, the how you say, the las huellas dactilares are different than humans. Then many similitudes. It's similar, but it's different. And the other one is completely different. It's more like the salamanders who had no lungs and no ribs. And also has 4 eggs, in this case, 4 eggs also. It means all of them are similar. It seems that they have been created in a laboratory. But when you talk about that, it's even more difficult to believe. But there are some paintings in that area, in Nazca, that suggest that there were laboratories in that area, or at least that the people from the past saw it. I don't know. It's something that is very difficult to prove, but there is no explanation. Let me tell you, when I talk about this, they say, "Oh, but they are not extraterrestrials." One thing is that the university said, we have not said that they are extraterrestrials. And the other thing is that they are not extraterrestrials. They never said that. We can say right now the origin of this creature is unknown. Okay? It's all we can say. We cannot say they are from Earth. We cannot say that we won't consider the possibility that these creatures are extraterrestrial, because they could be, but also they could be terrestrial. They were created here by someone else. They were born here and they die here. Because how can you explain a hybrid with ape genes, human genes, and unknown genes? How can you explain that? Or how can you explain that the other creatures, there is nothing similar to those creatures on Earth? Nothing. They were compared to 1 million species, and they couldn't find one similar to them. Okay? Then you have things that prove that they could be from somewhere else. Another thing, the metal. We haven't talked about the metal. The metal here. Why all the females, just the females, have this? Okay? One of them has osmium, the other one has pure silver, 92 to 95% pure silver. Okay? Can you imagine that? There is no silver like that on Earth, at least not on nature. Where that silver was brought from, where was created. You see, that I think proves not that they are extraterrestrial, but that probably extraterrestrials were involved in the creation of these creatures, or that they are extraterrestrial.
That's a big statement, and something that intrigues a lot of people is hearing all of these different aspects and theories, because all of these ideas are on the table mainly because these bodies are still in the category of unknown. We don't have a full understanding of what these things are, and maybe we might need better technology to give us a better understanding of the background of these things.
Absolutely.
But
This,
Jaime,
yeah.
has the research and data you shared at the hearings undergone peer review by independent experts in the field? Can you elaborate on this process?
All the people that have been involved, yes, they have done this. But all the people who have not been involved, they don't want to do it. I mean, the Congress asked the National University of Mexico to do their own investigation after they criticized me. You know what they did? Nothing. Nothing. They did. The Congress ordered them to do it, and they didn't do it. Explain me that. How can you deal with that? Okay. They say, oh, why this was not verified by someone else? Because they don't want to verify. They don't want to take a look on this because they are afraid. You see, they are afraid. And I challenge anyone to do this investigation. They are real scientists. No, they are not real scientists. The scientists investigate. They just criticize. They have a salary. They are very comfortable. They don't want to take a chance. They don't want to take a risk. What if they criticize me? What if my curriculum is affected by me getting involved in this? I'm not going to win anything. I should get away from this. You know, this man, Howard Hughes in England, said, why Jaime doesn't take this to Oxford? And he interviewed me and said, please, Howard, ask Oxford, and I will take them the samples. I will pay the ticket for them to come to Mexico. You know how many answers he received? Zero. Nothing. Then how can you do it? Nobody wants to do it. And the case is real. Doesn't matter. We'll find a way. And the Peruvian government is the one who has to find a way because it's their treasure. Because they are the ones who have to really go into the mystery and find the answers to do. Because they are the ones who are going to gain with this. Can you imagine the interest in Peru after these bodies are declared real? Okay, then they are the ones who have to do it. That's what I think.
In the conversation of scientists, people want to know, were any American scientists invited to join the research team?
Nobody has answered. Avi Loeb was invited. Okay, he told me he wanted to do it at the beginning, and then I said, okay, excellent, beautiful. And next day he said, oh, I don't have the special equipment that I need to do this. I mean, there are some interested. I cannot tell their names, but they probably will get involved. They are very excited now. They saw the second audience. They saw some of the samples and the tomographies and so on. By the way, have you seen the investigation that was done to a different body, Edgarda? Edgarda was analyzed by Japanese experts, and they say that the body is real. This just happened a couple of days ago. Okay, that's a new source to really demonstrate that this is real. They analyzed the body, the eggs inside Edgarda, and they found that they were organic and that they had embryos, like the St. Petersburg University found before with the body of Josephine and with Luisa too. All of those are the names of the bodies that have been used to identify these creatures.
In the past, some cases you were involved in turned out differently than expected in the sense of bodies found and not being alien in nature. Can you talk about these cases? And I'm referring to the alleged monkey squirrel and things like that.
It's the same case. Nobody demonstrated that they were fakes. I still have the body of one of them, the so-called, they said the squirrel alien. It's not a squirrel. I made the interviews with all the people who saw the creature alive. And this was not a squirrel. I have the picture of the creature alive. You can see it. It's alive. And it's nothing to do with a monkey. It's something, I don't know what it is. It's this size. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know. But I can tell you that there is nothing similar to that on Earth. And it's still there. Oh, an employee who was aggravated that the owner of the ranch where this creature was found was killed for different reasons, was killed in Mexico. Then I continued with the investigation, and one of the employees was working with a widow, had a problem with her, and then he came out and said, oh, the body is from a squirrel. He never presented anything, any proof. But again, all the media right away when they say, "Oh, it's a hoax." Somebody's going to say it's a hoax. Yes, they put so much more attention to that. It's the same with the photograph that I presented in Mexico. It was taken in the U.S. for a couple in a museum, and this body that was really big to be considered a 2-year-old boy, like they said. I presented, they said, "Oh, this is a mummy from a boy that was found by Palmer in 1896 in Colorado." I found the picture of the finding and I presented both. And this doesn't have anything to do with this. And again, every time you present something, somebody else is going to say it's not true. And that's enough for many to accept this as a hoax. Humanity doesn't want to take this seriously. The media doesn't want to take this seriously. But that's the truth. That is the truth. Why in Mexico I kept my integrity and credibility intact here? Not outside, but here, yes. Because people know me. Because I've done programs for 50 years. I always been a very ethic, objective investigator, and I hope capable. And I have many different shows. I have two-hour shows right now and a daily newscast. You think I could do it if I didn't have credibility? Come on. No, but that's the game. But I will continue playing the game, and I will find the ways to demonstrate that these bodies were real. It's very unfortunate to have an evidence of this size, this statue, and people saying it's a hoax. Come on. How can you say that without even proving that it's a hoax? Who has proven that the body is not real? Who? Where? How? I haven't seen it.
Jaime, thank you so much for addressing that specifically, because it's on a lot of people's minds and we want to hear it from you more than anybody else. But going back just a little bit, how did the public and the media react to the two hearings? Were there any misunderstandings? And do you feel that your efforts and the hearings deserved more coverage in the news media around the world?
The first one received a lot of coverage. And again, a lot of coverage to say that this was a hoax. And the second, no, it didn't receive the media attention because the media has already decided this is a hoax. I don't need to hear the scientists. I don't need to see any other evidence because I have decided that this is a hoax. That's terrible. That's terrible. The media, the journalists are not being honest. The scientists are not being honest. It's terrible. There is, I wouldn't say there's nothing I can do. No, there is something I can do, and I'm going to do it.
How did military reports like those from the United States Pentagon affect the hearing? And did the alleged alien attacks in Peru that happened over the summer affect the efforts of the hearing?
No, nothing affected. And in Mexico, the military didn't get involved in this. Absolutely.
Nice.
And in Peru, I know there are sightings, not just the reports from the attacks, but also sightings. I have photographs from strange creatures in Peru and Brazil just over the last 6-8 weeks. It's really interesting what is happening there.
It is. And this next one is, which universities and labs have studied the bodies, and how many bodies have been examined in total thus far?
Just the ICA University is the one who has investigated this because it's the only one who has the bodies. The Stanford Gene Laboratory analyzed the DNA. The National University of Mexico analyzed the carbon-14. And I think that's it. And independently, other scientists have been involved, like Jose Sastre, who is a very recognized forensic expert. He has many specialties here in Mexico, and he said that the aliens were absolutely true. The biologist Ricardo Langel, who is also a very recognized expert here in Mexico, He also said that they were truth. Mr. Constancio Piotti, who is from Argentina, and he works with the courts there, with the legal system. He's the one who said that the projection of the hair of the bodies, of the small bodies, demonstrated to him that probably are humans from 3 million years. Okay. It means that we continue evolution, we will look like them in 3 million years. That's what he thought and demonstrated with his own investigation. And he's probably the biggest expert in Argentina about the head of the human being. And
That
that's
was that was one instance of the second hearing that caught a lot of people's attention, including myself, of what he said, because it didn't really fit what other people were saying. You had Ricardo Rangel say that it could be Maria could be a hybrid, and then you have Piotti saying, well, it might be us from the future, and then you hear others with the smaller bodies saying that they could be ET, but they're still unknown. And so his aspect really it blew my mind, just to be honest with you here. But Jaime, no, go ahead, please.
no. He was, when he came, he was surprised. He couldn't believe himself. This is a very methodic doctor. He's very honest, and he did it. He just made numbers and triangulations and took the head, and then he decided that this was probably a human into the future. It didn't mean that they came from the future and we are going back to the past or something. No, it means that if we continue evolution, we will look like that. And
Thank
he
you for
was
explaining
surprised.
that.
He was the first who was. He said, "I couldn't believe myself when I found out this. I couldn't sleep. And he asked me, "Do you want me to say it?" And I said, "Please, doctor, say whatever your investigation is. I'm not going to say don't say that or whatever. Say whatever you want." And he did it, and you heard it, and that's it.
Thank you so much for explaining that, because that, I think, confused people, especially with the translation. So when you said it, it makes a lot more sense. Jaime, I have one final question for you. One more. And that is, in your opinion, do you think ancient civilizations like the Mayans, the Aztec, or Incas had contact with extraterrestrials?
Um, a few years ago, before I had this finding, I would say no. I didn't think that the pyramids were created by them, or the Nazca lines, or so on, or so many mysteries from the past. I didn't believe in the ancient aliens, to tell you. Now I believe they were here. I think they were able to live with our ancestors. I think they communicated with them. I think they gave a lot of wisdom to our people, and that changed the way these civilizations behave. You know, you can find paintings about these pterodactyls all around the world, especially in Latin America, Mexico, Peru, and even sometimes in Asia, where these pterodactyl creatures were present. It means that they were there too. And I think it's extraordinary, but at the same time, it's very possible. We are seeing what is happening right now in our skies. And when there was a time when we didn't have that technology, and these creatures could come closer to us easily. And I think they did. And I think humans buried them in these caves. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been buried. If they weren't loved by our people, they wouldn't have received this treatment. And I think they did. At the same time, I think they had some kind of sickness, because many of them died when they were going to have newborns, and unfortunately, for some reason, they died. There is so much more to find. There is so much more to investigate. Please don't close your minds. This is real. I put my hand on fire. You know, nobody has proven the opposite. And at the same time, nobody wants to help us to demonstrate anything. But we will do it, okay? We will find a way to do it. We will find the authorities, and this will continue because this is the biggest finding ever. And as I said in the Congress, this is physical evidence. The only bad thing I can tell you is that this physical evidence that is there could be destroyed by time, because these creatures, from the very first second that they were taken out of the place they were, they've been decaying, and very soon there will be nothing from them. And just to finish with this, the Ministry of Culture found two bodies that were going to be exported from Peru to Mexico, and this is 2 or 3 weeks ago. And they had clothes, and they looked like handcraft, but they were creatures similar to what we have presented. You know what the Minister of Culture did with these creatures? They destroyed them to investigate them. Okay? Instead of taking them to a tomography, to do tomography, to do x-rays, to do all the testing that is needed to be done, they opened them, and they became dust, because that's how they are. You know, if you do that, you will destroy them. If you do this, you break them. And I think it's a crime. I'm going to accuse this coming Sunday on the Peruvian TV the Minister of Culture of Peru to destroy this incredible treasure from Peru. People will know what to do there, and let's see what I can do legally to stop them from lying and, not doing their job for the Peruvian people.
It was fascinating, and I'm glad that you mentioned this because also Peruvian forensic scientist Dr. David Willy Ruiz Vela also mentioned that when they had obtained these mummies, referring to the Institute of Culture of Peru, that they damaged them, and that also really shocked me, and I think it shocked a lot of people when he had mentioned that. But Jaime, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. It was an absolute pleasure to hear your insights and your information on the Mexican hearing. Myself and many really do appreciate your efforts. Where can people find you before you run off?
I'm trying to look for the. I'm trying to look the. I'll send it to you. The link for the DNA. Okay, I'll send it to you.
Thank you so much. And all of Jaime's links are in the description box below as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Very
you. If you enjoyed the show, hit that like button down below and subscribe if you haven't already. And make sure to hit the notification bell as we do 3 shows right here on this channel every single week. If you're listening to this on a podcast platform, take 5 seconds to write a review. I do try to aim for 5 stars, but please tell me your thoughts on what you think about these shows. Tomorrow will be Strange News. You do not want to miss that. It will be live. But also follow me on Twitter at eyes_on the skies for all of my updates and news, and also my Instagram at Strange Paradigms, where I share pictures and short videos. If you want to continue this conversation, bring it over to the Discord server with 2,700 other like minded members. Share your thoughts, your insights, your experiences, and more. If you are enjoying all the content that you're seeing on this channel, consider being a Patreon supporter, where all the funding goes straight to the channel, to Puck the Puckwudgie, and to the RV Fund, where I'll be traveling the United States, hitting all the UFO and paranormal hotspots, documenting it, and taking you on the journey with me. That is it for today. I will see you tomorrow. Be safe, and remember, keep your eyes on the skies.